Because of, like, right off the bat, going back to the first episode, because we were talking about how the Blade of Memora references this, but the first episode references to not only just Shiro in a moment of, like, weakness, because if he's, like, so scared that they're stranded, no one's gonna find them, and he's injured, and there's nothing they can do to heal him, and he's probably gonna die, because if he's got this weird, crazy injury from Hagar's creepy magic, and there's certainly nothing that, like, you put a band-aid on, that ain't gonna do anything. It's like it keeps getting bigger. So Shiro really thought in that moment he was probably gonna die. So yeah, he was saying he wants Keith to lead the Black Lion, but it's just more than that. This episode literally has Keith seeing that Shiro was surrounded by these alien giant, like, cat bear-like things trying to maul him and eat him. And of course, the only thing Keith can think to do is, the Black Lion's right there, I gotta get in the Black Lion to pilot it. And people were legit thought that they were just gonna do that as, like, just a temporary thing. I'm like, guys, it's more than just a reference. This whole season 2 has been building it up, and so it's part of why I love this, especially as a fan of the original, because they're really taking their time to develop this, to build Keith up as a leader, to put him in the line, and it really says something that Keith, because by this point we know that this thing had 2 living paladins dueling over it already. It willingly let Keith pilot it. Now you could say it's because Shiro was in danger, and yes, because if Keith did say, hey, I know I'm not your paladin, but Shiro's in danger, we gotta help him. And yes, I'm sure the Black Lions recognize that, but it's also the fact that it recognizes Keith as somebody, because I'm sure any of the other lions could have, like, because as we've seen, the Red Lion has been independent enough without a paladin to attack on its own to help Keith. Yet this one, the Black Lion, it didn't
move for Shiro.
It didn't move initially like the Red Lion did, but I wonder if that's because of, you know, Zarkon's still there. But the fact that it would move when Keith asked it to is really interesting to me. Because of then it's like maybe it saw something in Keith, or and yes, maybe it's part of it did want to help Shiro, but the fact that, and I think it's because of the fact that Keith asked it to. Because it goes back into the Space Mall episode when Shiro had that awesome moment against Zarkon. He's like, it's not about, like, commanding something. You don't command the Black Lion. It is about, like, earning its trust and respect.
Yeah.
Like Shiro, like, understanding that this thing is alive and it's not just some beast that you can control. You have to respect it and have a symbiotic relationship with it. And so Keith, like Shiro, was showing, I respect that, you know, you got a mind of your own, dude. Like, just, we gotta really help Shiro, okay? He's, like, gonna die, please, I don't want him to die. And as the fan base, like, please don't kill Shiro, please don't kill Shiro. Everybody had elevated blood pressure every time Shiro was in a dicey moment in season 2. Oh, gosh. And, of course, yeah, so the episode, so the season 2 has been building it up. So as I know, there's a lot of great moments like that. Another great moment, another great episode, because season 2 has so many great episodes. Oh my gosh. Before the Blade of Memora, whenever they realize that Zarkon's tracking them, of course, as you and I both know, when Keith and Allura run off on their own, as somebody who was a fan of the original series, I was so happy because we only got very small moments of Keith just hanging out with Allura, and really mostly it was episode 4 was the most that the two's ever interacted in season 1, and while it was nice, it wasn't anything big, because as everyone knows, from the original show, Keith and Allura were a canon couple. From the comics, Keith and Allura are a canon couple. From Voltron Force, they're a canon couple. So I was even from season 1, and people were just like, they haven't even interacted too much yet. And I'm like, guys, you don't understand. These 2 were my childhood OTP when I was like itty bitty little kid. And I was wanting to see how a very well written show would take, obviously they're very, very cheesy, corny, so cliche, so standard 80s type of sci-fi relationship in the original series that I ate up when I was a little kid, because of course I ate it up when I was a little kid. I'm a little kid. I liked cheesy things when I was a kid. I wanted to see that modernized. I wanted to see that really developed. So I was excited to see that Keith and Allura were going to spend a lot of time alone together in this episode. And what was great was it shows that Keith is starting to suspect that he might have some ties to the Galra. He doesn't know what those ties are, but he knew that that blade belonged to his mother, and that is Blade of Memora, which is a Galra organization, even if it is not tied to the Galra Empire. They're opposing them. But he knows somehow that that blade came into his mother's possession, and so somehow that means that he might have a tie to them. He didn't know what kind of tie that was, and obviously that's why he desperately wanted answers. So whenever he's hearing Allura very staunchly like, you can't trust the Galra, and it hurt Keith's feelings, especially because of Unala's gave their life for them. So as we're going, yeah, it made sense that Allura had that prejudice, because it's an understandable, yes, sure, you shouldn't have prejudices, but it was an understandable prejudice. You could see why she had that hatred, and that, like, just because of, it was just, they hurt her, or at least Zarkon's empire hurt her far deeply than anything. And so, but for Keith, obviously, this matters a lot. And this is, as we were like talking about this, I was talking about this all caps this morning when we were messaging each other on Tumblr. It was like, it was this scene where you really start to notice this trend where Keith, the normal, very stoic guy, the very, like,
yeah, he's not very expressive or emotional. Most
and like, and when he does get emotional, he gets emotional. Like usually it's when he's angry or stuff like that. And he's only known Allura for a couple of months. But he's suddenly so very soft when talking with her. And it was this episode where it starts this trend where he's really soft when addressing her. And it was like, and I said to him, the only time that I ever saw this, like I was even thinking of that time that really brought it up, was the first season when he was with Shiro, whenever they found him, and the very first episode of season 2, whenever Shiro was injured, and Shiro was like, just like, Keith, if anything happens to me, I want you to leave Voltron. And Keith says in that very soft voice, he's like, just don't talk like that. Like, it was just like, it was this softness that, like, I was like, that suddenly, but it was even softer with Allura, and I was just like...
Well, and you can see it from when they're talking in, like, in the little pod, when they're talking before...
Whatever he said in such that soft tone, he's like, well, sure, they're all bad. No doubt about that. And, like, when he said in such a soft tone, of course, I'm shipping trash, and I'm just like, be still my heart, the boy's soft.
Well, it's like, and even when the little ship explodes because they're trying to go back, and then it's like, here's this thing that Pidge put on. This worked for Hunk and Corin. Boop, boom, and the whole ship explodes. And so they're stranded in space, and they actually have this really, like, it's
almost like, as people jokingly call it, the space dance, because when he grabs her hand, they're like twirling almost in a way like a dance, but clinging onto each other, and just the whole time Keith is just asking her, are you alright? And as one person noted, as they point her out from their body, the way their body is, Allura is more hunched over when they're holding onto each other when he asks her if she's all right, and whereas Keith is sitting up more straight, and it's because of what points point out, it's like it's a visual cue, because if Keith is not as terrified in that moment, because if he's still got his jetpack, at least he could still fly. I mean, sure, their communications are down and the situation is bleak, but it's like, but there's still hope. He's got a jetpack. They're not going to be adrift in space. But Allura didn't. That's why she was clinging onto Keith like a lifeline in that moment, because of all she had in that moment was the one with the jetpack.
Yeah.
Like, if he lets her go, she gonna be floating and drifting forever. But it was in that moment, that was the only time when we hear the intensity of Keith, because when he panics and he was like, Allura, grab my hand, like he was scared, like, because suddenly it's like, not for him, for her, because of, she doesn't got anything, she don't got no jetpack on that space outfit.
No.
That's why it's a good thing Pink Paladin armor, she's now got jetpack.
Yeah. And it's funny, we even people have even noted that when he's holding on to her as they're flying back, he's literally got his arm. He's holding on to her hand.
I never noticed this until this morning when somebody put
this. And he's got his arm around her back.
He's got his arm around her, and he's holding her hand. Like, so it's just like he's just like really trying to keep her close. Because I mean, like, they could have just held hands, and that would have been your, here you go, fans of the old show that were fans of this ship, of the original canon ship, here's a little ship tease for you. Look, they're flying in space holding hands. But they didn't just do that, and I didn't even notice that, because it was such a quick moment where they show, like, Allura and Keith from the back. And I'm just like, no. Keith is deliberately, like, trying to, like, protect her from drifting far into space or something. But it was like, and it's such a short amount of time, but it's like, as I was saying, like, the soft voice, and it's so funny because of, it makes sense with Shiro. He's known Shiro for years. He's somebody that
he's like family.
He would deliberately trust Shiro. He's the one that Mr. Stoic, loner, hot-blooded Keith would would suddenly let his walls down around Shiro. That makes sense. He trusts Shiro. He knows Shiro. He knows Shiro intimately. But Allura is he's somebody recently met. So to see Keith let down his walls and try to convince her that not all Gaul can be bad because he's scared. And it's like, as I point out that Blade of Memora episode, as we're talking about, with Keith's character, one of his fears was to fear that Shiro would, one day walk out on him, the one that he considers family. And I'm like, so that means in such a short amount of time, Keith is, because especially whenever you see Allura's reaction after the Blade of Memora episode, how she just rebuffs him, ignores him,
and we see
him off,
and for the first time
and
we
it
actually
hurts him.
Yeah.
And that expression of hurt on his face, I went back to rewatch it and I looked at the faces. The way his face is in that hurt, in that very first shot when Allura rebuffs him, is the same face, the same way that whenever he saw hologram Shiro turn around and walk away. And I'm like, in such a short amount of time, he values Allura's opinion equal to Shiro. And I'm like, in such a short amount of time, if that's not slow burn, I don't know what is. I know, we're both Allura shippers.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, it's actually funny because
But even if it's not going to be a couple and they're just going to be friends, that fact alone tells you that Allura is obviously going to be a very important friend to him.
It is kind of funny though. I didn't even ship it at all, even after watching the entirety of season 2.
No, I mean...
Well, it's funny because I didn't even know that they were a thing in the original series, and I didn't even think about it until... I started seeing a bunch of posts about them, and then then you told me that they were a thing in the original series, but I actually started shipping it out of spite because of the
certain shippers. You all know who. You all in the Voltron fandom know who.
Yeah, they were spamming hate of specifically
just because of those two had an episode together.
Well,
and they were like, "This is gay erasure," and I'm like, guys,
they were never confirmed gay.
Look, Keith never showed interest in anybody, man or woman.
Well, and it's like
it's not erasure if he doesn't show.
Well, and it's not even.
If he doesn't show attraction to anyone.
Well, there's never been anything explicitly romantic in this. I mean,
like shipping goggles. Please put them down.
Yeah, so I mean that was funny. But when you go back and you start rewatching the show,
I can say that because you're like, oh, but you're a shipper, and I'm like, yes, but I can say I would be okay even if Keith and Allura ended up as friendship because I know it's a very deep, important friendship that they are setting up.
Well, yeah,
this is deliberately setting it up because they paralleled his pain from the fear of Shiro rejecting him to the actual real life Allura rejecting him. And I'm like, that's deliberate setup because we know he really cares about Shiro and really values Shiro's opinion. And now you're showing, wow, Allura in such a short time became somebody that Keith really values what she thinks about him and why it hurt him so much. And that's important to him. And it was just, and I love the plot line because it really develops a really interesting, unique relationship.
Well, and I have to say, it was extremely brave of them to have Allura show such prejudice.
Oh yeah, and a hero character.
Yeah,
and then admit how wrong she felt was.
And yeah, and you pointed this out when we were rewatching it. She wasn't prompted at all to apologize to Keith later in the season.
Nobody told her she's wrong to treat Keith that way. They let her deal with it.
Well, I mean, they did point out, Hunk specifically.
Oh yeah, they were subtly doing it because she's still the princess and blah blah blah. But at the same time, it's like they all understand and know that Allura has issues for a reason. It's not like it's like if somebody had a fear of sharks, because if they had a shark attack, and it's not like somebody's gonna be like, you big whoosh, jump into that tank with the sharks. I mean, it's like, you could just be like, that was a one isolated incident. Well, granted, this is not an isolated incident. It's a full-on war, but whatever. But it's just like...
But she didn't...
But everyone's just like, but Keith has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. And she does realize this on her own, and this is something that you never see, because it's always someone goes, you need to go and apologize to them because you're wrong, but no.
Somebody else, would instigate them or inspire them to, make this change.
But before they're getting ready to use the teledub and stuff, she goes to Keith, and she's just like, no, I am sorry for how I've been treating you.
What's great is they were actually building that up too, because of the Blade of Memora actually say to Allura whenever they go over their plan, and before they actually do their plan, it was actually very subtle. Whenever they say to Allura, and he's like, because perhaps you see when our plan succeeds that you'll realize that not all Galra are your enemy, princess. And she turns and immediately turns and looks at Keith, who's actually like looking at something else, and she says, I hope so. Like in a very sad voice, like she like wants to trust Keith because she knows that this is one of her paladins, but she can't separate like her anger at what the Galra have done to her, but she was taking it out on Keith. So it's like, but the show was like subtly building that up, the like Allura realizing it, and that look on her face whenever Keith basically decides, nah, you're not going to tell me what to do, I'm going to go on a suicidal mission. And she just realizes in that moment, it's because of, she realizes Keith could die and she might never see him again. And what would the last thing she would have to remember that she did to him?
Blowing him off.
Her treating him like that. And she didn't like want to, she did not want that how things obviously to be, if that's how like how they last see each other. She made certain like, no, if this is the last time we'll see each other again, I'm going to make amends immediately. And from that moment, she's more comfortable with the Galra, like, because she's leading the charge with the Blade of Mamora guys to like go attack Hagar in the castle to help the paladins. And it was so great to see that, because it was like once she accepted Keith, it made it easier to accept the actual full-blooded Galra guys that are her allies. But it was like, for her, that was the biggest hurdle, because she knew it was wrong, but it was like, it's hard to admit it when you're being wrong sometimes, and you want to reconcile. And as she said to herself, I wanted to hate you. And she's like, but she knew she couldn't, but she wanted to because she's angry at the Galra, but she was just projecting her anger onto Keith, who had nothing to do with it. And she felt horrible, and she's just like, I'm so sorry. And even the way she hugged him was so, people were like, it looks so awkward. And I'm like, yes, it is an awkward hug, because
it's not supposed to.
Because it's honest and it's vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable, raw, emotional moment, because she does feel terrible, and it's awkward and it's not comfortable, because it's an uncomfortable position for the both of them. Even the way Keith hesitantly hugs her back, it's like it's supposed to be. It's very raw, it's very emotional, and it's like, it was so good. And just her begging him just to not die, to come back to them, because she wants him to come back, like, because of. She's like, no, I don't want this thing to be like this. She's like, I want us to, basically, like, she wants to be his friend. And, oh, it was so good. So, yeah, those episodes were good.
And I think we'll be here all night if we talk about all the good episodes in Season 2.
Season 2 had so many good episodes. Season 3, oh my gosh. You know what?
Right.
Every episode.
No, but we need to talk about Episode 4.
Oh, yeah, we do. We need to talk about episode 4. But first off, you know what? The Lion Switch. Episode 2 was amazing. My gosh, I freaking love Red Paladin. I've watched it so many freaking times. Just, wow, so many freaking emotions. So many freaking emotions. Seeing Keith get into the Black Lion after, first off, the hilarious of everybody else trying on the Black Lion. Like, Pidge can't reach, so she sits on her helmet like a booster seat, but then she can't even reach then the controls by doing that because she's so short.
I'm sure she related.
Shut up. And then Hunk being in there for just 2 seconds, it's just like, nope, not gonna do it. And as Karina, it's just like, same. If somebody's just like, you want responsibility? Thinks about it for 2 seconds. Nope.
Well, yeah, and then you see Lance, and he's just like, you're like, come on, this is your moment.
This is your moment, but apparently is implied, I don't know, be there for like 30 minutes or something. And he comes out all pouty, also sitting on his helmet. He's like, the Black Line hates all of us. But I mean, yeah.
Well, actually, no, I do have to say.
But it was an emotional moment, because if you do know from season 1, he said to him, he's just like, wait a second, they're not even going to ask him questions or what happened? He's like, that's Shiro. He's like a legend. He's my hero. And I'm just like, Shiro was Lance's hero, so obviously he's like, you got this. This is your moment, because Lance is so desperately, he's just like, I want to be Shiro. I want to be Shiro.
And I want to be Keith.
Well, yeah, and he wants to be better than Keith at everything. But it was a moment, because it's like he wanted this more than anything, because he really admires Shiro. That's why he wanted to be a pilot. He wanted to be a pilot like Shiro, that's cute. Like he's got a hero. Like, and so that's adorable. But what was then, whenever Keith goes in, and the whole time Keith is so like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Woo, and then it powers up for him.
And it powers up. But with the whole thing that he says, he's like, I know you wanted this for me, Shiro. And he's like, but he's like, but I'm not you. I can't lead them like you. And that's whenever, and that silent please, no, so heartbroken.
Yeah, because it's powering up.
It's supposed to be, even the music builds this up as a triumphant moment.
So
and when like that,
Keith looks so defeated.
So defeated, so like all the energy sapped out of him. And and then just the sorrowful pleading of just such a quiet please no, and I'm just like, and it's like that triumphant music is judo-puffed by that, and it's so great because it's almost like, in a way, showing the contrast of like the Black Lion but Keith in the red armor, like these two things you shouldn't see fitting, but it's just like, it's gonna fit, dude. You gotta.
Well, and it's funny because we also see, this is one of the first moments we see Lance actually going up to
Keith and actually giving him respect.
I think Allura was the first person to tell him congratulations.
Well, yeah, Allura was, because of Allura the whole time was obviously because even Allura was the first person that prompted him to go in, because she's just like, Keith, we all tried, you have to, because she knows he's uncomfortable obviously with this, because he's obviously afraid. He knows there's a good chance it'll work because it worked for me before, but he's like, I don't want this, because he wants Shiro to be back. He wants Shiro to be there. He's his family, but his mentor, he's their leader. They need Shiro. But even whenever he says they need Shiro, it also means I need Shiro. He's just like, big bro, come back. Like, oh gosh, emotional. Stop it. You hurt me. But it was great because of then when Keith comes out and Lance, like, you see Lance is disappointed, but then hearing Keith's like, I reject this, and everyone's just like, what? And they're like, you can't. And Lance, of all people, who always antagonizes Keith, Lance of all people is just like, you have to accept this, man. The Black Lion chose you for a reason. And to hear Lance say the Black Lion wouldn't choose anyone it didn't think was worthy to lead Voltron, is like, that's big coming from Lance of all people, because Lance is the one that has the most antagonistic relationship with Keith from the get-go, because if he had a one-sided rival with Keith, and Keith's like, who are you? But just that's Lance's whole relationship with Keith. He's always goading Keith on, always trying to get under Keith's skin, always trying to piss Keith off, always trying to put Keith down, because if Lance just has this just like, you think you're better than me? And Keith's like, I don't even know you. But it's because that was part of Lance's insecurity. As even the teacher at the garrison pointed out, basically that Lance is no good, and the only reason he is where he is simply because of Keith dropped out, and that's why he got that spot. So that's always going to be hanging over Lance's head. So that's why he's always so antagonistic. But because of Keith is a loner, never really connected with anyone, he had no idea who Lance was. But so to see Lance grow in season 3 was great. That moment was great. And of course, gosh, seeing Allura break down crying hurt me in so many ways.
Well, yeah, because with Keith going into the Black Lion,
they were like, he's going to pilot the red.
So
Allura gets in the red.
Yeah, now we find out that her father, Alfor, was the Red Paladin.
And it means so much to her.
So she gets in, and because you notice there's a difference between when she tried out the Black Lion and the Red Lion.
She just kind of sits there mildly disappointed, like,
okay,
whatever.
So I'm not the Black Lion.
But she's just like, whatever.
And then when she gets in the Red Lion, she's like,
she's pleading with it.
Yes, she's like, please, I want to follow in my father's footsteps.
I want to carry on this war. And then she's like begging it. She's like, I can't continue to just sit here on the sidelines while others continue to risk their lives in their war for me. And she just breaks down crying, and I'm
because
just like,
she realizes that the lion's rejecting her, and
it won't accept her, and I'm just like, stop hurting my baby. I literally just wanted to pull a tissue out, and I was just at my phone screen, just like, stop, baby, it's gonna be okay. Oh, that was so emotional. It hurt me so much.
I want to carry on my father's fight, but I need your help. Allow me to follow in his footsteps as your paladin. Please, I must do this. Others are risking their lives in this fight, and I can't continue to...
And then, what a great friendship moment between Allura and Lance. Like, what a contrast between when they first met in season 1, and he was just simply just like, girl, you'd activate my particle, Lance. wow, like just to see them just genuinely be friends with each other, and Allura like and them just mutual respect.
Well, because she ends up taking the blue lion, which had ultimately started rejecting Lance.
I mean, that was both a sad moment, because one, he was like, wait, do you hate me now? And I'm like, aw. But then, of course, he had to be all funny, like, it's me, Lancey Lance. And he was just like, I'm sorry about wanting to pile the black line. It was just a phase. Like, he's acting like some boyfriend that just cheated on his girlfriend, and he's, like, begging her desperately to take him back. Like, he's even crawling on the floor. He's just like, it didn't mean anything to swear with his eyes. He was just like, you know, Blue, that is a great color on you. And then it's just like, oh. He's just like, are you from outer space? Because your body's out of this world. He's like, oh man, that was like my best line.
Yeah.
It's like, God dang it, Lance.
Yeah, but then Allura ends up piloting the blue line, and she has her...
Well, yeah, and as Allura said to Lance, like, as soon as they hear the red line, because she's like, they're sort of like, Lance, we really need you out here. And because the lion, like, put up a particle barrier. And the particle barrier is only put up whenever it senses a threat, usually. Like, and it doesn't want anyone to come in. And so it's just like, why would the blue line, the most open, the most friendly, the most accepting,
be rejecting
Lance when it would probably have accepted any of the paladins, because it's the most open to all of, like, out of all the lions, even more so than the yellow lion, which is also a support lion and a friendly lion, because, you know, support, the legs, they hold the team up. Well, it's like, why would it do that? And I'm like, but it makes sense. She senses probably that Lance is becoming the type of paladin that would be better suited for Red. And since Red lost her paladin,
it makes sense.
It would make sense that the red, like the blue, wasn't putting her particle barrier up because she's rejecting Lance because she hates him. She's putting it up because she knows that's the only way to send the message to Lance
that he needs.
That you have somewhere else you need to be. There's someone else that really could use you right now.
Well, this is something that I really loved about what they showed with the lions. Is a lot of people didn't quite understand this. The lions think on their own, and they can acknowledge what's going on. And that Shiro's gone.
Yeah, people think, though, that also just the arbitrary traits that Allura mentioned when she first said them. She said, I noticed immediate qualities. And I'm like, yes, those are immediate qualities, but they're also baseline qualities. So, yeah, Lance was a support type, but that's because he's the friendly, easygoing guy who can make friends everywhere he goes. Whereas Allura literally was a support figure. She was a pillar in the team.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense. It would choose her because she's a natural fit for the blue lion.
Right. And I know I've seen this before, but you know,
and people were like, whoa, Lance and the red lion? I'm like, he doesn't react on instinct like Keith. And I'm like, oh no, he does react on instinct. His instincts are usually worse than Keith, though. Granted, Keith doesn't always have the best instincts either, but Keith usually fares off far better.
As a show when they went to Thesaurus, but...
I was like, but Keith is hot-blooded. Lance also has a very short fuse. He's just a different kind. He's more open about his emotions than Keith.
Well, and we also noticed that, again, like they established that the Red Paladin is to be...
And they didn't even say it, but in Season 2, they show it by showing how much Keith is very staunchly will follow Shiro wherever he goes and support Shiro 100%. And it shows that it was subtly setting you up that there's more to the Red Lion than simply just instinct and temperamental. It's also the right hand of Voltron, the one that the head will depend on, because if you know, most of us humans, biologically, we're right-handed. So, of course, it's supposed to be symbolic of that. Like, it's the hand you're supposed to depend on the most. So it's saying that, of course, it would naturally make sense. Shiro would depend on Keith. They have history. And I'm like, but this one is showing that Lance, because if he was willing to put his selfish personal glory aside, or also his need to also want to become like Shiro, and recognize that someone else is suited for the position, and someone that doesn't even believe in themselves, and say, no, dude, believe in yourself. And it's like, and that's big for Lance. And the blue line recognized that. And the blue line recognized that that's like Lance is changing into the person that could become a red paladin. And that's why the red lion roared in that moment, because then Allura recognized, because the blue recognized it too in that moment. Blue's like, you're becoming a red paladin, dude. You need to go to the red paladin.
Well, and it's also because each of the lions understand that, yeah, you know, Shiro's gone. That means they're down a black paladin, which means there needs to be a shuffle. It's like the Lions can't just. That's the great thing is that the Lions don't just sit here and instantly bond to one person. Because if they did, then we wouldn't have our new set of Paladins.
Well, we also wouldn't have had that power struggle between Zarkon and Shiro.
Yeah, they're capable of bonding to more than one person.
But the other thing is, and I'm so baffled why people are so mad at this shuffle, especially putting Keith in the seat. They're like, oh, Keith is a terrible leader. And I'm like, it's called developing him into the role of a leader, guys. Character development. And I'm like, okay, so let's say you kept everybody else in the same lines except you put Allura in the black line. Guys, that means Keith's character and Lance's character are not going to change. They will stay the same. Sure, maybe you'll get some development for Allura, developing her into a leader.
But she was never really suited for military leadership.
Well, I mean, she even said, like, whenever she was talking to Lance, in a way it also fits with her character, too, because she said she noticed how, just because of her father built the Lions, and he's a great king, he recognized that Zarkon was a better military leader, which would make more sense for Zarkon to take the lead of Voltron.
Because we see this in episode 7 in the flashback, when Zarkon straight up says to Alfor, shouldn't you be leading
because they're your Lions, and he's like, you've always been a better leader, military leader than I have. He's like, you need to take the lead, Zarkon. Zarkon's like, okay, sure, fine.
And that's what it is with Allura. Allura, she may want, she wants to be a paladin, but she's not suited for that.
But she wanted to be the Red Paladin. Yeah. That's what she wanted. Yeah. And if you notice, especially from season 1 and especially in season 2, because I noticed this, whenever they were talking about going to visit the Galra that saved Shiro from his captivity, who happened to be one of the Blade of Mamora, she was so dead set against it. There's these secret coordinates. She's like, it's obviously a trap. The Galra are sneaky. The Galra would always do this when she was still in her mindset that every single Galra is evil. But notice how they still went to go to those coordinates. And even whenever Shiro's like, we need to take it and was like, we need to go to those coordinates. And they're just like, no, it's probably just a trap and, those weird mind things will just blow us up. Shiro's like, no, we need to go in. Allura still deferred to Shiro. Shiro, who is somebody she's only known for a couple of months. But if anybody, out of every single person, especially whenever Keith said, no, I don't accept this as the Lion, she says, you must. The Lion has chosen you. Allura staunchly believes in Voltron and these Lions, and she respects these Lions so much because she knows they're these sentient beings with minds of their own, and they're the ones that will save the universe because she believes in her father's creation, because she believed in her father. And so, the Lion will go for Shiro. And so that's why, even when she didn't like it, and when they even went to the Blade of Mamora's actual headquarters, and you saw how much she didn't like it, and she was totally ready to pounce. Just any sign of something bad goes on, we're gonna pounce. And so whenever they just thought, oh dude, the red lion's attacking, why is the lion attacking? And then she's just soon as that particle barrier, or whatever, that thing, it just does up, she's just we're going in. She was ready to be all gung-ho. She did not trust them. But she still let Shiro call the shots. And I'm like, guys, Allura would respect whoever is in that seat. She just said, hey, if the Lion accepts me, I will take that burden. But Allura she's like her father. She can recognize when there's somebody better suited.
Yeah.
Because if she's more of a political leader. She's a diplomatic leader. Yes, she's strong. She's obviously a much better updated version compared to her 80s counterpart. It was a different time. But I'm like, she doesn't have to be a leader to be suddenly empowering. And I'm like, Allura was empowering already. It's like whenever people were acting it reminds me of people suddenly making a huge deal about in The Force Awakens when Leia was suddenly General Ghana. I'm like, I'm sorry, Leia did far much more in the entire Star Wars franchise when she was just Princess Leia. Princess Leia got things done. General Leia stood around and was sad.
And she asked people to do stuff for her.
Almost reducing her role. And I'm like, so you're trying to reduce Allura's role. And it's ironic. I'm sorry, because I know some of you probably have better ways to have written Allura's character, but there are some, just like with the whole Galra Keith, there's these really fanficky ways that in trying to build Allura up, you're actually just turning her into nothing but these stereotypes and fanfic stereotypes.
Well, and they have to tear down other characters, specifically
tear
Keith.
down other characters to make this work. And that's the other thing, though. Keith and Lance would never change. And I'm like, with this new dynamic, you're getting character development from Allura and Lance and Keith.
And even
Hunk and Pidge, because it's switching up the team dynamics so dramatically. Like, this is really interesting stuff. And it's even tying into Shiro, or who we may or may not be Shiro.
The fandom has been collectively calling him Kuron.
Well, because of Project Kuron, and everyone's just like, suspect!
Means clone
in Japanese. But suspect. But oh my gosh. But yeah, even Shiro, it's a new dynamic with this Shiro being back and basically is being mission control, which almost ironically puts him in Alura's role.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, but
it really kind of, even though we're pretty sure the Shiro is a clone, it's like
it really
suits Shiro's personality to be.
But it makes sense that Shiro would fit in either personality because Shiro is a leader. He was a born leader. It comes naturally to him. Whereas this Keith is the different kind. He's the one where you build him up and develop him to a leader. And we're building up Lance and actually building up a friendship between him and Keith. And it's a really good friendship that we're starting to finally see being developed in season 3 as it's starting off. And it's great. And oh gosh, there's so many good episodes. Many good episodes.
We'd probably be here for 5 hours.
But we have to talk about
episode 4. Okay, that'll be the last one. So then we can finish off the other parts.
Because we've already talked about episode 7 and all the other amazing things in the season 3 because we talked about it. But episode 4, oh my gosh.
This is the alternate universe episode where we remember when Slav in season 2 is talking about the alternate realities. And it's like, you thought he was full of hot air, but nope.
Yeah. Oh, so they're in alternate realities where the Alteans actually became the tyrannical empire, and it ties back into season 2 with Alura's prejudice, and it's just like, sure, not all Galra's best, because it shows that the Alteans had the potential to be just as bad as the Galra.
Yeah, except their version of, instead of being, taking control,
and ruling through fear, they're delivering peace by brainwashing slaves, basically.
Literally, they
sapping their free will,
enslaving populations of planets to where
so that they won't have to fight anymore and be barbaric. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, this is the one with Hira, where the
a far better Hira.
Hira.
Far better Hira. Kuvira done ever, but yeah, our salt about less than Coruscant.
But again,
but of course, so now we have other Alteans. So this opens the door for maybe Ramel and Bandora and Nanny could come in eventually. Maybe they'll be in an alternate reality, or maybe they'll be sort of surviving Alteans. We don't know. But the fact that it shows that at least in one reality, there are more Alteans, it shows that there is potential for these characters to come in, which I'm like, oh, please, 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 please. But gosh, so you have that really cool plot line.
Well, another thing going into this is that there's this Altean distress signals that starts off the episode.
And the episode ends, you find out it was Lotor, because freaking Space Xanatos.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's this comet, and that's made out of the same material that Voltron
was built out of, which they further, and episode 7 was great because it goes so much into lore.
It explains a lot more about that.
Lore heavy episode. That's why that episode's great. But the reason episode 4 is great, despite at the end of the episode another really, really great moment between Keith and Laura, and again, soft trademark voice that he's got around Laura, and I'm just like, oh, be still my heart.
There's so many good episodes. Parts in this episode.
And just seeing her hair down and her paladin outfit, because if we never see her hair down, even in the old show, her hair is always up in her paladin outfit, and whenever she's in her dress, that's when her hair is down. So just to see just her long, flowing, like cloudy, like Nia hair in the paladin armor, I don't know why, I'm just like, aesthetic. This scene is my aesthetic. Like, just, you got soft voice Keith and just Allura looking so beautiful, and I'm just like, yeah, and then there's like this, almost like this aurora borealis going on in space, like that they're looking out the window, but then they're just like having this great moment.
No, we need to explain what's going on in the episode.
But no, because I'm saving the best part of my.
No, I'm just talking about the context, because so they go in there, they try to use Voltron to get this comet out, and Lotar specifically says, if
they go in and they never come out. then we win.
Voltron.
If they bring it out, then we take it. We win. It's
Yeah.
like either way, it's a win. And he's even doing this pose, and I'm like, literally, I'm just like, could you be even more David Xanatos than you are right now?
Yeah. We looked it up, and this is literally the David Xanatos pose.
It's like, oh my gosh.
But they go in there and they end up in this alternate reality where we said that the Altans were the bad guys and they destroyed the Galra.
But there is nothing in this universe. There is nothing in this universe that could have prepared me for
Sven. Actually, Sven, complete with Joss Keaton doing an
I don't know, what is it?
Scandinavian,
Norwegian, Swedish, we don't know. It's some kind
yes to all. An accent, yes.
A very terrible accent.
Yoo-hoo up here.
Just yoo-hoo up here. But soon as I heard him say, I am not Shiro, and I'm just like, no!
Because he looks like he has Shiro's face.
He's got Shiro's face, but he has the Sven longer hairstyle, and I was just like, but as soon as I'm just like, first when I saw the design, I said, please tell me this alternate reality character is going to be named Ryu or something like that. But then, as soon as I heard that accent, my name is not Shiro, and I was like, no!
And then Slav is here, but here's an awesome badass Slav.
He's Vamp.
Yeah, who...
Nothing also could have prepared me for an awesome Slav. I was like,
because
what?
Main universe Slav is such a wimp, but this
He's
one,
so neurotic.
but this one is like, I've seen all the realities where this plays out, and it's like, and like he's planned everything accordingly, and it's like,
this is the reality where everything works out fine, ha ha ha.
Just in time.
I know, and then it closes up to Slav's face, and he's got like the anime angry vein symbol, but he says like in like that deep like action movie hero voice, just in time. And I'm just like, what on earth is going on here? Slav is cool.
Yeah, but when Slav says, come on, Sven, it's like...
And it's just like, come on, Sven.
We actually see Sven.
Like, oh my god.
Sven complete with that stupid dub accent.
Oh my gosh. But
what's really funny is that instead of the blade of Mamora...
The guns of Gamora.
Guns of Gamora.
Guns. Well, other people were jokingly like, what if there's like an alternate version of Keith, but instead it's the reverse. Instead it's Sven, but all the other characters of the team are named after the Japanese counterparts of Go Lion instead. So instead of Keith, it's Akira Kogane, and they're like, what if there's just like, from birth, he's always had like this gun that was like his mother's. So there's just like, I saw fan art of like just a baby, except he's got the longer mullet, like from Voltron and Go Lion that the original Keith had, and I'm just like, this is too much. Sometimes I hate the Voltron fandom, but other times, there's two kind of Voltron fans. There's the night blogging crap posters, and then, well, you people know who they are.
What does this gun mean? This gun has been in my family.
But so there's like these really funny posts, but yeah, so I saw that and made me laugh, but I was just like, nothing could have prepared me for Finn. Oh my gosh, just the terrible accent. The fact that Josh Keaton revealed that he literally was told last minute, 8 o'clock at night, to come in to do a recording, and they gave him a bunch of Swedish meatballs. As his tweet says, they told me to do a Scandinavian accent while giving me a whole bunch of Swedish meatballs. I'm like, here, go, you're doing Sven. And he was just like panicked and terrified in that moment, just like, go. And he was like, oh, what? Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Dog pile.
Oh gosh, yes. Dog pile, just yoo-hoo, Sven. Oh, but it's the what builds up to it all, though.
Oh no, this is the best.
Whenever, like, so Lance is being awesome sharpshooter, shooting a whole bunch of Altean drones, robot things. And then suddenly he looks and there's more coming to, like, flank them.
So
one goes to shoot, and just like in the original show when Hagar attacks Lance and Sven comes to help him,
Sven jumps up, takes the shot,
pushes Lance out of the way, and
takes the shot,
and the dramatic.
And literally, when he gets shot, it's literally like a 1980s dramatic anime shot.
Where it's like the really heavy lines and shadows on it, and even the way he screams dramatically, And I just, oh my gosh, and even the way Lance is holding Sven, and the position that he's in is like in the same position like 80s Keith was in, and Slav is where like 80s Lance was as they're hovering over, and then he's just like, are you fine? And then he really freaking says, just really poking fun at the 80s students, I'll be fine, just get me to a space hospital. And I'm just like,
well, referencing the space hospital that they took him to in the 80s.
And just everybody in there just like, did Sven just die? And then it's like later on, and they asked Joss Keaton, they're like, did Sven just die? And he's like, no, no, this is the reality where everything works out fine. He's at the space hospital. He's okay.
He's like, yes, he's at the space hospital. Okay, he's fine.
He's fine, everybody. Oh my gosh, that nothing could have prepared me for that. I'm still like, oh my gosh, I could not believe.
Of all the things that could have been referenced, it's Sven.
Oh gosh, I could not, I just, wow. And then of course, I'll really quickly go into it. That whole episode with probably may or may not be Shiro. Wow, what a heavy episode. Like, you're just constantly feeling for poor may or may not be Shiro.
For simplicity's sake, let's just call him Corone.
Well, yeah, we'll call him Chrome because we think he's a clone. But you feel so sorry for him because it really sets you up because of, once again, this show is exceeding expectations because I thought it was something was suspect. The whole time I thought something was suspect, but then another part of me is like, no.
We see Shiro again for the first time since he's disappeared, and you're thinking, oh.
But one of my first thoughts is, and I'm like, this is way too soon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't introduce Shiro this soon because you're just barely switching up the team dynamics. It's in its infancy of development. And I'm like, this would be too soon. And so that's part of me is realizing something is suspect here. This is too soon. Narratively, no.
You would at least wait a season before you bring him back because.
And it's like, but then I was like, but then there's more hints that, and as you go back and watch the episode more and more and more, you realize, wow, even the beginning of the next episode after that, you start to see, like when he mentions the weird headaches. He specifically says weird headaches or strange headaches or something like that, and everyone's just like, suspect. But,
and even the Black Lion doesn't even respond to him.
Which was great though, because I thought that because of the part of me that was in denial that really wanted this to be Shiro because gosh, I miss Shiro, I love Shiro, was like in denial about it because it's like, well, the Blue Lion rejected Lance, so I'm like, it's like, but it was different.
But it put up a whole barrier.
But it was different, and the reason it put up the barrier is because it knew Lance had to go somewhere else. This was like, it was just like when the other paladins got in it, like it didn't even recognize who was in there at all. Like, at all. Like, because he's moving to things and nothing. It's not responding, period. And I'm just like, but then it's like, but wait, but it sensed Shiro, and that's why it led to it. And I was like, but then again, it has the memories of Shiro. It thinks it's Shiro.
But it's
so
not.
Why wouldn't it mentally, the Black Paladin, like, being able to, even a fake one, send out an energy signature that the Black Lion would recognize, because for all intents and purposes, he is Shiro. From everything, the way he acts, his memories, everything about him is Shiro, or at least thinks it's Shiro. So of course, initially it would fool at least the lion's sensors, but then suddenly when he gets in, it realizes
this is
a stranger. This isn't Shiro, and it's like so much about it is suspect, but it makes you really feel for this character because if one part of you really desperately wants it to be Shiro, and so it really builds up to gosh dang, poor Shiro. Even a clone of Shiro can't catch a break. Because I'm sorry, I'm calling it. That's a clone. That's got to be a clone. There's no way. There's too many hints at it for it to be psych. It's not a clone. I'm like, what the heck? Like, but I'm like, dude, it's probably, like, as everyone was saying, like, dude, is this straight up going to be another, like, Young Justice, where it's just, like, we're going to have both Arsenal and Red Arrow the same, like, two Roy Harpers, because if one's going to literally think it's the original, heck, one of them was a clone built from the DNA of the severed arm of the original.
Oh yeah, and that's something that I joked about, because I didn't actually even think about it, since I've barely seen Young Justice, so I don't know anything really about the story. I said, well, what if they made a clone out of Shiro from his severed arm, and she's just like, this really is Young Justice.
Like, I could not, I just like, wow, because if they go that route, it's straight up that same plot line. But it was a really interesting, good plot line, and especially because of then it would be like, well, the cloning blues trope, but then it was be like, but then it could bring in Ryo, the twin of Takashi from the, like, Go Lion, but instead of a twin brother, because you obviously don't got one here in this version, and everyone thought, oh, it's just because they combined Takashi with Sven. It's like, no. Sven's actually now a character in this show, which means Shiro's his own thing, which means this could possibly be Ryo.
Which would actually be great, because I know a lot of people, myself included, are hoping that he sticks around. Oh, he'll have his own dramatic, angsty plotline, but hoping that once Shiro comes back, and, like, there will obviously be some conflict, but hoping that he sticks around as Ryo.
Yeah, but just imagine, and then it's like realizing he's a sleeper agent. It's probably sent to sabotage Voltron from the inside.
With his robotic eyes.
And the robotic arm. Oh my gosh! But just the potential plot lines for that, like that's something that's another. If that's one of the changes that they're doing, which everybody and their mother is theorizing, I hope so. This is one big fan theory. Like season 1, the whole Gara theory, the way fans were writing it, whereas honestly it's too fanficky. Now at least the way people are theorizing this. Every person, even people who I've seen before that made so many posts I strongly disagreed with, they've actually come up with ideas behind this that I can fully get behind. Because if I'm just like, there's so many great story ideas for at least this plot line. But yeah, so that episode was fantastic. It really made you feel for him and feel.
Yeah, because the way they build up, by having it go back in time, a few episodes back.
Yeah, and like really struggling. Like basically, it takes place at the same episode the Red Paladin episode was. The episode 2 and 3. It takes place in the same span of episode of 2 and 3, but instead showing it from and just that ending shot of him desperately on that Gara war fighter ship, just trying to get to Voltron, but Voltron's too fast, and knowing how he struggled to survive on that ice planet, and just to get there to Thacerix, just so he could have his team, and just to see them piloting away. And then whenever they do that log where he's just like day 1, just drifting on course since last noted Voltron, and just like talking about how he's got no food or water, and people are like, wow, 7 days. The body can't survive without water for 3 days at most, and yet somehow Shiro survived, which again, people are like, clown! But just to know that not only was he slowly dying of starvation and without water, but also he was running low on oxygen. Like, he was literally being deprived slowly, but he was dying a slow death, like this clone. And I'm just like, stop. Even a clone of Shiro, stop making him suffer. It's like there's that one text post of one person just like, hey guys, can you kind of cut Shiro some slack? DreamWorks beating Shiro with a stick. What?
Well, it's funny because it's like after the 7 days, and we see he's literally just possibly right about to die, and then
the Black Lion shows up because he's just like, you found him, like just like just so like, yes, Shiro, and it's a triumphant moment. And then it made me momentarily forget that there were so many suspect things, but then the next episode follows in with more suspect things, and I'm just like, ah.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, great episode. Really made me feel for this Shiro, and I want to see more. There's so much more you can do with this show. I can't think of a least favorite episode. I can't think of a least favorite character.
I honestly, I can't even think of a least favorite moment.
As we've gushed, I don't know how long about the show. I think it's clear that this is probably our favorite show right now.
Oh yeah, like of all, like, I mean, even shows that, like, other shows that, you know, are airing right now that I really enjoy. You know, it's like there is something at some point that I didn't like.
There'll either be like one episode that was bad, or maybe a small moment in one episode that was bad. Even like the most perfect of TV shows. Like we did a Star Versus topic, and so far I like every episode of Star Versus, but the Forces of Evil. But there's like that one moment
when the Blood Moon
ball, like that very ending moment. I hate it.
When Star starts blaming Marco for things going wrong out of nowhere.
Yeah, but you guys seen our talk about that. But it was just that one moment, and I'm like, that was dumb. But everything else about that episode was freaking amazing. But I'm like, there's so many shows where I'll pick out a character that I'm either indifferent to, I don't like, or a moment that I was indifferent to, or I wasn't quite a fan of. But with Voltron, I'm like, wow, this show keeps wowing me. It keeps constantly wowing me. It's amazing. It's great.
Yeah.
It is the best example of how to do a reboot right.
Yeah, and so far, I haven't seen much of anything to complain about. And, you know, I'm like, and a lot of people know me, I'm hypercritical of stuff. So if I can't find something wrong with it, it's good.
It's just, I can see where it's going. It's really going to go places. I have strong faith. There was like, because I've been burned by so many bad shows recently that I'm suddenly feeling like we're seeing this age of revival. Because I mean, Star Versus is being fantastic. Miraculous Ladybug, so far from what we've seen, is fantastic.
Gravity Falls, even though that ended, that was great.
It was
both
great.
Seasons of that.
And DuckTales was looking to be promising. The new reboot for that.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that.
And then you have this show, Voltron, amazing, and it's just like, we're getting some good stuff. We're getting some good stuff. So it's just like, it's trying to make up for some of the ilk that happened in between 2013 to 2015. I'm sure there was some gems here and there. Gravity Falls was one of them, but I got into it literally at the season finale. I finally decided to jump into the fandom.
After a long time of me trying to convince her to...
The stars are not in alignment for me to watch the show. But it's just, this is such a fantastic show. And I'm like, there's so many great characters. At the moment, Keith is my favorite character.
I have to say, I have to agree. Keith and like Allura are my favorite
Like, they're
characters.
being developed so great. I mean, I love all these characters. I love Lance. Lance was always enjoyable because, you know...
And
And
Shiro...
Hunk is great. And Shiro, oh gosh, love Shiro.
And frankly, like, especially when you see what he was based off of, it's like, wow, Shiro is such an incredible character.
They really build this amazing character from Shiro. And Pidge, wow. To take this dramatic difference from her counterpart and to really just reinvent her character into this amazing character. And to add another female on the team, but instead of rather being, oh yeah, she's just the other female on the team, instead of like, oh yeah, well here's Allura and here's Pidge. Like, no, they took a cue from obviously Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's like, well here's Katara, well now here's Toph, another female character. So it's just like, well, here's Allura already, and then you find out Pidge is actually a girl. And I was just like, so too, but they're two very distinct female characters. It's not just female character, strong role model, trademark. Like, no, these are characters that feel like real people.
And they have their faults. They make mistakes. It's like they do
human emotions that they feel like real people that you could connect with in real life and probably be friends with. Like, it's so delightfully enjoyable the way that they're writing these characters. Like, honestly, as somebody who watched the old series, and granted it was years ago, but yes, this show is definitely better than the original show. It exceeds my expectations constantly, and I'm excited. It's been such a long time where I've literally watched every single episode of a TV show, and with each episode, I'm so giddy at what's more to come and what else they have in store for me. I feel like a kid again, too, which is funny, because I watched the old show, and yeah, at the time it was corny and not very well done, but still, it definitely captures that excitement that I had as a kid watching Voltron, where I remember never missing an episode, but for some reason I can't remember much of the show now, but yeah, because I was glued to the TV for Voltron, because it was my very first giant robot TV show that I was into. It's the reason why I watched Power Rangers, too, because of that I was like, yay, more giant robots! Yeah. And for some reason I never watched Transformers, because I thought it was dumb, because I was stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen a show that I was consistently excited for. Like, there have been so many shows that I enjoy, but I'm still sort of like waiting, because it's like, okay, I've been burned so many times by so many shows.
I know we talked about Miraculous Ladybug, and we're both like, yeah, we love Miraculous Ladybug, and we said it even on our Tumblr, what a breath of fresh air Miraculous Ladybug was when we like started watching it. But you know, there's always that lingering fear. Legend of Korra burned us so bad, I think. Well, and other shows came out around the same time.
I've said this before too, but I watched Lost.
Oh yeah, I watched
years.
Lost,
and
I've been a fan of X-Files, and I've been a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I know whenever a good show just really starts to run itself into the ground.
Yeah, and
I'm a huge Danny Phantom fan. Whoa, season 3, and just knowing a good show starting to get bad very quickly.
Well, it's like, and I watched Once Upon a Time, and it's like, and I watched as that show started dipping, and I even made a video on that. So like, I started seeing the show go bad, and I was just like, nope.
Like, I've been burned so bad, but so it's nice to see, like, Gravity Falls was fantastic. Miraculous Ladybug, so far,
so the first season was great.
And Star Wars is just so much fun. And, I mean, I'm excited to see more to come for these shows, but with Voltron, it's just almost like, for me, it feels like it's on another level. Like, I cannot shut up about it. We can't shut up about it.
I normally don't rewatch shows very much.
This much.
I've watched season 1 and 2 3 times.
Ever since season 3 was approaching, I never watched a show so much consistently in a week. I mean, I've rewatched season 1, I've rewatched season 2, but there was a space of time when I rewatched Voltron, when I would rewatch it. But when season 3 was fast approaching, I've rewatched it whenever I marathoned him. I rewatched it in my own private time. These episodes, I would rewatch specifically my favorite episodes over and over again. I would rewind and keep going back to my favorite moments. Like, this show is so exciting. It makes me, like I said, it makes me feel like a kid again. Like, just this excitement, this story. It's got so much interesting stories. Wow. And yeah, wow.
All right, so the last part of the topic is the show made a lot of changes to some of the original characters, like the Power Rangers movie. The cast looks pretty diverse. Do you think that this is diversity done right? What do you look forward to the most in the near future regarding the show?
Well, as I mentioned with Pidge, right off the bat, that's diversity done right. So you take a character, turn that character into a girl to add another girl on the team, obviously, because, we got to be a little bit more feminist instead of just the Smurfette principle. But instead of just making her just another girl, as we pointed out, Pidge is a really likable, fleshed out character. She's
we established that her relationship with her brother and her father and trying to search for them.
It's her driving force, like to find her family and bring them home, and she's just so driven and determined, and it's something you can really get behind because of. But yeah, these characters are so diverse, and it's not just because of Shiro's now Japanese. Okay, yeah, Shiro was Japanese.
The original characters were Japanese, but in regards to Voltron.
But in regards to Voltron, they've obviously changed all their names, and so no longer Japanese. But whatever.
Wait, so Hunk was it Samoan?
Yeah, Hunk is Samoan, so he's from Hawaii, and Lance is Cuban heritage, and Pidge is white, but specifically Italian.
And I love that. I mean, as someone myself who's Italian descendant, it's like
the Italian memes,
the spicy memes.
Just Pidge from in the Green Line, bada bing. Matt from in a Rebel Base, bada boom. Or just like there was another post where people were just like, Lance accidentally bumps into Pidge, hey, I'm walking here. And I'm just like, my gosh.
Yeah, the memes of that.
The memes are great, but
and we have
just regarding that.
Yeah.
But Keith is just part human, part Galra.
Part Texan, part Galra.
Yeah, we're just like the
Texan is his ethnicity.
Texas is his ethnicity. They're just like the memes that are coming from that. Of course, everyone theorizes because of the fans base decided to create a fake surname for him of Kogane because of the original character Akira Kogane.
And I read that that's his name in Voltron Force.
And I don't know if that was his name. I don't know.
I looked up. That's what it said in the wiki, that his official name was Keith Kogane, but they they called him Kogane.
I know, they didn't get it right, but.
Commander Kogane.
Kogane? Who's Kogane?
Hunk, that's Keith's last name.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I forget we have last names.
But if it is, then that would be cool, because if they actually did take the surnames from the other show, Because if he's Hunk Garrett, it's Lance McLean and Pidge Gunderson, but then of course you have a new identity because that's actually an alias, and I want to know how she came up with that identity. I'm like, please tell me it's like something like her and her brother like watched a TV show as kids, and there was a character named Pidge and another character named like Gunderson, and so she just decided like that was her and her brother's favorite characters, and she's just like, no, my name is Pidge Gunderson, and then so just when Matt's just like, Pidge? Really? That old show we watched, like
that would be hilarious.
Like just something like that. That would be cute. I don't know. Just please tell me it's something from her childhood. That's why she chose that name, because that's an interestingly specific name you chose there, Pidge. I wonder why. But
I think one of the most radical changes though in the characters has to be Allura.
Oh yeah, Allura, because of like as I pointed out earlier, Haran and Allura look just like humans. This is specifically trying to make them look very, almost like fantasy type of an alien.
Yeah, because Allura in the original show looked like Princess Zelda. The blonde.
Well, so people have jokingly said she's like a cross between Princess Zelda and Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, because the way her dress is even cut kind of reminds people of Sleeping Beauty, and so they're like, oh yeah, like it's like a Disney princess cross between Princess Zelda. Where this one, yeah, she's a little bit more like Princess Zelda, but even more like on the fantasy space opera. Like she looks like something I would see in a video game or in Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, because they drastic. I mean, she looks nothing like she did in the original show.
I mean, you have subtle cues to her original counterpart, but they're very subtle, and I like that they're acknowledging it. And because she's a shapeshifter, who knows? She could probably take on a shape where she gives herself blonde hair.
That would be funny though. But but it's funny because she's written so well
Oh, she's such a great character.
Even though it's such a drastic change in the whole race bending stuff, it doesn't. But you see, that's what it is. Since the writing is so good, it doesn't feel like it's race bending.
But it's not even really race bending. They just made her look more alien. Yeah, sure, her skin's darker, but they were like, hey, let's just give her that cool dark skinned, white haired beauty that we had Yue have in Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it looks cool.
With a dash of Nia Teplin.
Yeah, with a dash of Nia from Gurren Lagann, but because she's got the cloudy hair. But because of hey, it looks cool because she's a fictional race. She's an alien. She's not human. Yeah. And so, but because if you look at Koran doesn't look identical to her.
Yeah,
it's just the eyes and the facial marking and the elf ears is what they have is the similar.
Well, and it is funny looking at Allura. I mean, when you see her in group shots, she really stands out because I've seen a lot of pictures and scenes and stuff from the original, and she doesn't stand out at all because she just looks
like a generic, girl.
Human, yeah.
A generic human girl. But we're here because if you have all these humans, Allura really stands out.
I mean, all their stuff stands out. Oh yeah, another stuff I forgot to mention was Keith's design. I think you were the one who initially pointed this out.
Well, yeah, there's actually a YouTuber. Her name is Fictional Crystal, and she actually pointed this out before season 3 hit, where she's just trying to explain to the Paladins, and I was just like, wow, and she is a Clant shipper. Yeah. So I was just like, look at this, somebody who's not hating on Keith and really no, Keith's going to become the Black Paladin, Lance is going to become the Red Paladin, and Allura's going to become the Blue Paladin.
Aside from his overall outfit, he has the black, he has the yellow,
but she was the one that pointed out when I saw the video, and I'm like, yeah, I can see what she's talking about, because Keith's outfit is predominantly black, barring his boots, which are red and white, and then his jacket, which is red with the yellow accents, and it's just like, wow, his color scheme matches perfectly to the Black Lion, predominantly black with little bits of red and yellow accents.
And they really use this design to a lot of visual storytelling, because there's that moment where after he basically ends up going into the Black Lion officially, there's a moment where Lance goes and talks to Keith.
Oh yeah, he's actually who pointed that when we were watching that episode together. He was just like, because before Lance comes in, they make a note to animate to show Keith hanging up his jacket, his red jacket.
So at that point, his outfit is almost entirely black.
Barring his boots, it's an entirely black outfit because it's the black gloves, the black shirt, the black pants. It's just his gloves that are the only thing that's not black on Keith. And so when Lance comes in to bring up his insecurities because of Shiro is back, and so it's like, well, if he ends up taking over that, then you'll probably want red. And then he's like, naturally that means I would go to blue, but obviously Lance has an insecurity because Blue rejected him, and Allura's progressing super fast with the lion, showing that Allura's got a lot of potential with this lion. She's just it's just a natural fit for her. They're in such perfect sync with each other. Obviously, whenever she really starts to tap into his power, she tapped into it a lot faster than Lance did. And obviously, Lance is realizing, as he said to Lance, he's like, hey, this is war. You're gonna want your best soldiers. What's funny is Lance didn't go to Shiro for this. Lance went to Keith. Keith is a visual medium is mostly in black because they're literally trying to say, yeah, Keith is the leader now. And even though Keith tried to make a joke about it, you must be pretty bothered if you're coming to me about this. And Lance is like, no, dude, this is really tearing me up, man. And even Keith was just like, okay, wow, Lance is actually really coming to me for this. Okay. And but Keith actually really addresses it. He's like, dude, stop worrying about the problems, just focus on your missions. And even though while Lance was still sad when he walked out, but then Keith made that one comment, and he's just like, leave the math to Pidge, because Lance was talking about, I was doing the math, 5 lines, 6 paladins, it ain't gonna work. And he's just like, leave the math to Pidge. He's like, Pidge's job is to do the math. And he's just like, Lance, he's like, stop worrying, that's not your job. He's just telling Lance. And it shows that Keith, while he's not good with words, he's better with actions, because immediately in the next scene, he doesn't tell Lance to go to any other lion. He just tells everybody to get into their lions, and then immediately tells Shiro to pilot, and he will stay behind. So he's acknowledging Lance's insecurities without telling Lance that he is doing it, because he's not that good with words, but it's showing that that's who Keith is. He's better with actions. His actions speak far louder than his words. He was showing, because he honestly still believes that Shiro should be the Black Paladin anyway.
Yeah.
But it was showing Keith was willing to make the sacrifice because if he knew, yes, Allura is amazing and she can obviously do this really good, but Lance is developing well with the Red Lion too, and he feels that the Black Lion belongs to Shiro, so he's acknowledging, no, I'll take a step back, but I'm acknowledging one of the people under me, their issues, and I'm just like, and he was honoring that, and I'm just like, even though, yeah, in the end, Keith went into the lion, But I was just like, that's setting up still, even in the moment, even when Keith is trying to give the reins back to Shiro, that's Keith being a leader.
Yeah.
And well, even when the lion activated, even Shiro of this season says it later, which even in that same episode with Lance and Keith, whenever they had that heart-to-heart moment, when at the end of the episode when Shiro says to Keith, he's like, you have to learn as a leader to make hard choices. Well, that harkens back literally to the very first episode of second episode of season 3, because of Keith did not want to get in that line. Keith did not want to get in that line at all. So as a leader, the very first moment he made a hard choice, sitting in that seat, getting in that line. That was hard for him, and he swallowed it because it was for Shiro. He did it for Shiro, even though he didn't want to do it so badly. And it's just like that's the whole. People are just like, it's not just simply the natural born leader, the calm and collected one. It's like the lions aren't just these minute little, just these stereotypical traits. There's more to them than that. The lion doesn't recognize just simply, a natural born leader. The lion recognizes a potential in a leader and someone who's willing to make the hard choices. Shiro is always willing to make the hard choices.
He's the most experienced.
He's the most experienced. He understands that. Keith is learning that, but it shows that Keith is developing into that, and they use visual cues and subtle cues in Keith's actions, and both in his, in little visual cue moments, even just from his character design, and just very subtle moments when he addresses characters, just showing of Keith developing into leader. At the very end of season 2, we were even like, wow, once again, there's a moment where, because Zarkon basically knocks poor Shiro out in his lion, and it's all the lions fighting Zarkon's giant freaking robot thing, and the one who immediately leads the charge to that fight of Zarkon to protect Shiro is Keith, and the whole group is fighting by Keith's side. Like, Keith is the one that was giving the orders. And yeah, sure, a lot of it was muffled, but it was like Keith led the charge. And I'm like, it was like the entirety of season 2 was setting up for season 3 to show you that yes, Keith is going to be the leader. We're going to go to the original. And
even though he made mistakes, he ultimately acknowledged, his short-sightedness and his, striving to be the better leader.
But it was all due to his he's was being a loose cannon because he just wants to get this done so fast, because if he can put it down fast, then boom, he doesn't have to deal with it.
If he can capture Lotor and he can end it, then that means he can get out of the black line. He doesn't have to do it anymore.
Because then the universe is peace, because Zarkon's already got a commission. Well, then you have the heir to the throne. Boom, if he's down to commission, the Gaur Empire's done. And then Keith's like, boom, I don't have to be the leader anymore, because then he can go back to looking for Shiro, because that's all he cared about. But then it's because of his recklessness, and everyone's just like, ooh, Lance was his impulse control. No, the whole time Lance was struggling to trying to rein Keith in. Keith on his own had to recognize, wow, what a screw up I was. And then he came to Lance and admitted what a screw up he was. And Lance had to reaffirm, yeah, you messed up. Now let's go fix it, Keith. And so it was just like, now it's like Keith, because Keith has to learn to trust Lance the way that Shiro trusts Keith. That's what it's developing. So yeah, Lance can't rein in Keith always, but Keith has to learn to trust others. Just because Keith always known that he could only really trust himself other than Shiro. So now it's showing that Keith has to learn to trust others and to rely on them. And he's continuing making hard choices. And gosh, nobody will talk about that amazing moment with the freaking moment.
When
that cool move that
it's like because they needed to defend the castle and
they had to defend the castle, but they also needed to get rid of the piece of the teledub that Lotor's force is getting away with. But at the same time,
Aksha is fighting.
But he also had to fight Aksha, who's in this new ship that Lotor had made out of the comet that he stole from episode 4, which is obviously a really powerful weapon. Potentially could be as powerful as Voltron. So it's just like, do I stop this, or do I protect the castle, or do I destroy the teledub? And Shiro is constantly barking, you need to do this, and Keith is like, you told me to do this, and Keith's like, you told me to do that, and then Shiro finally is just decides on, look, you need to make a choice, Keith, and he's just like, you need to get rid of that teledub, and so he at first follows Shiro's orders, puts the shield down, and goes to act like he's going to shoot it down. But instead, his quick thinking...
When Aksha fires at him, he
Voltron.
dodges
To make them dodge very quickly, because Keith is one of the most ace pilots to ever ace pilot, because they were talking about what a natural Keith is with piloting, because it's all about his instinct. That's why he was a fit for the Red Lion initially, because of Keith's instincts are pretty sharp about that stuff. But, so,
and then the blast from Aksha
blasted the teledub. And that's one of the few times you ever see Lotor in that entire season rattled. It was great. But it was like, so at first he follows Shiro's orders, but then Keith makes his own choice as a thing. And so the team didn't suffer any huge consequence for it. I mean, other than, yeah, that ship gets away, but it could have been far worse if he just lowered it and let Voltron get blasted. Sure, she still blasted at Voltron anyway, but it wasn't a blast to the back, first off, and them, like, basically leaving themselves perfectly unprotected to shoot that thing. Instead of Keith was just like, he came up with his own idea that was even better, a brilliant idea that he thought of on the fly. And I'm just like, Keith is developing into a great leader. Lance had so many great moments in that thing too. And seeing him being all sniper was great. I'm happy. We're getting sharpshooter Lance. Like, that's actually going to become a thing. And just seeing, like, these moments with Allura too were great. Seeing her being a paladin is great. I can't wait for season 4. And what I like to see, what I want to see, I mentioned it before, I want Rommel, I want Bandor, I want Nanny. I want them to be adapted in. I think Nanny would be funny because I'm like, dude, what if you have an actual teen mom, but she's just mother-henning everybody? Like, she's pretty much the same character she was from the original series, but she just mother-hens everybody, and she's just over the top. Because she can be a funny character like Coran. But, with Rommel, I want Rommel to come in, and you can, like, have her maybe be one of the last surviving Alteans, and maybe, like, Allura had a cousin, and maybe name her, like, Amui, or whatever the Japanese counterpart of Rommel was. Like, Allura had some cousin, but that cousin actually survived, and she escaped with a couple of Alteans during the destruction, and she led the people, like, the survivors, and, you know, she joined the rebels. Maybe, I don't know, she's in the same, like, league where Matt is, wherever he is. And, like, have Rommel there, and have her, she's got her brother Bandor, and then suddenly Allura's like, because Allura and Coran would be so happy, imagine that, they'd find more Alteans, but even more than that, Allura would realize, wow, wait, descendants of my cousin, and then it would be like, she's got family, extended family, but family. And that would be great for Allura. And it would be great because Rommel, I love Rommel so much. She was one of my favorite characters when I was a kid. And I want to see, like, I would love to see an adaptation of her. And yes, because of, as a kid, I shipped Sven and Rommel so much. And I'm like, please let her get with Shiro. And I'm just like, yes, yes. And I have a lot of ideas about Rommel. One of these days I'm going to make a whole laundry list post about them. I won't get about them too much here because this video I know
it's probably already long enough.
As it is.
I think we're already hit several hours.
Who knows? I'm not going to look at it right now. But yeah, there's a lot of fun things. There's a lot of fun things you can do with Lotor. I can't wait. I want to see more, especially knowing that Zarkon's coming back. And with Hagar, like, I want to see some more, like, gosh, there's so much you can do with this show. I want to see the Galaxy Garrison suddenly become more relevant, like they were in the original show. I would even like to see somehow the 3 cadets from Voltron Force being adapted into this show.
That would be cool.
Like, they pull everything from any source that you can. Heck, you can even maybe reference, I can't even remember his name, but there was a villain character who was actually a human character from the Galaxy Garrison originally, I think, if I could be remembering this wrong, in Voltron Force. So that would be interesting. What if you brought in a human enemy that eventually ended up allying with the Galra?
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting.
Like, there's so much you can do with the show. There's a lot of continuity that you can pull from. You can pull things from Go Line. We've already seen the show do it already. There's so much. I have such faith in these writers. They're amazing writers. Oh, gosh. Yeah, they are doing diversity right. And it's not just the fact that diversity, because these are characters from different races. These are characters from different backgrounds, too. Like, you have Lance, who's got a big family, and then you have Pidge, who's got a smaller family, but then they're lost, and that's her issue. You have Keith, who obviously came from a broken home, and we don't know much about Hunk and Shiro's family, but Hunk seems pretty well adjusted, so I'm sure, like Lance, he's got a very normal family, and I don't know, Shiro is well adjusted, at least until he got kidnapped by the Galra, because gosh dang, let him rest. Stop stressing him out. But yeah, these characters all come from so many different backgrounds, and to see them all interact with each other is so great, because they all play off of each other in interesting ways. And so yeah, this show's great.
Yeah.
Watch it. Just watch it.
Yeah. So, If you want to submit a topic, then you can either comment below on YouTube or send me an ask on Tumblr and do topic, then whatever topic you want me to talk about. Just make sure that you follow the rules that I'll be posting down below. If you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch next week's topic video, you can check that out here when I get that done. And thank you for watching.